Hi, I'm Ryan Szimanski, curator for Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial, and this is Brick Built History. Battleship New Jersey is the longest, fastest, most decorated battleship in history. She was laid down in 1940 and completed in 1943. After a brief time in the Atlantic, she transitioned to the Pacific, where she was the flagship of Admiral Raymond Spruance and Fifth Fleet. During the attack on Truk Lagoon, she sank a Japanese destroyer and scored what may have been the longest range hit in history, when a near miss from her fourth salvo damaged the Japanese destroyer Nowaki at a range of about 20 miles, while both ships were traveling in excess of 30 knots. She went on to become Admiral William Halsey's flagship of Third Fleet, and in that role was the flagship during the Battle of Leyte Gulf, the largest naval battle in history. Halsey's decision to chase the Japanese carriers off Cape Engano meant that she missed the opportunity to engage Japanese battleships off Samar, and she would never again get a chance to fire her main guns in anger at enemy warships. For the rest of the war, she served as a carrier escort, downing some 20 Japanese aircraft, and provided vital shore bombardment for the Marines going ashore. After the war, she was decommissioned in 1948, along with most of the other United States battleships. She would be reactivated in 1950 for service during the Korean War. She did 2 tours of duty off Korea, including as the flagship of 7th Fleet under Admiral Joseph Clark. Transitioning back to the Atlantic, she served as the flagship of 2nd Fleet, NATO's striking force under Admiral Charles Wellborn. She was decommissioned again in 1957. Because of her superior material condition, she was selected to be reactivated in 1968 as the only active battleship anywhere in the world. She had 1 deployment off the coast of Vietnam before she was deactivated again. The rumor the crew likes to tell is that the North Vietnamese refused to come to the table at the Paris peace talks unless Battleship New Jersey was taken out of service. That's how effective they believed she was off the coast. Again, in the best material condition, New Jersey was selected in 1982 to be reactivated during this yard period, which, not adjusting for inflation, cost twice as much as originally building the ship. She was rearmed with modern radars and cruise missiles, including 32 Tomahawks and 16 Harpoons. Again, the only active battleship in the world, she participated in the Lebanese Civil War and then served as the centerpiece of a battleship battle group in the Pacific. She was decommissioned in 1991, and in 1999, she was selected to become a museum ship. In 2001, she opened to the public in Camden, New Jersey. The ship has now served longer as a museum than she actively served as a warship.
Well, so the joke is, of course, that when we started this 2 years ago, step 1 for both of us, like right now, were these pieces.
These are the pieces you were missing.
That we didn't have. So that's why it was like, oh, well, okay, me, I guess.
How did you not have these?
I don't know.
I ordered everything off of Bricklink.
Oh. What's your theory?
You and Ryan are probably going to end up together.
He hasn't spent enough time with us yet.
You just, you don't know it yet, but there's a Hallmark moment coming.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think the only place that we're going to end up is in a grave, and it'll be shallow. Because he's so much harder to kill than I thought.
I feel like we need to change clothes like several times each day, so it makes it seem like we're taking longer than...
What?
There's a lot of pieces in each step.
This is ridiculous. This is like, what group of motherfuckers thought this was a good idea?
Remember when you showed up and we're like, we're gonna do this in a weekend?
Yeah.
And we're like, no, we're gonna do 4 days this time.
It's still.
The instructions literally say leave a 9-stud gap.
I hate it when you have to do that. Like, that's just like the worst.
Like, I'm glad that it literally and explicitly is written there.
Versus having to count on the screen.
Yeah.
Like, that is just pure torture.
It is interesting to see the width of the ship from yours. What the?
Well, this is still just the flat bottom part.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah, it looks like you've reached about the max width there. What the f*** I gotta do with this thing?
you're gonna put it in the bed with you, like you said.
Yeah.
Who's gonna tie you down?
That's true.
Yeah.
There's only one.
My part 1 is 61 pages long. I'm on page 19.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm hull below the waterline. I'm floating quickly.
Mine is 51 pages long, and I'm on 47.
God damn, Giga Chad.
Okay, I'm looking for a 2x1 piece. It's like a cheese slope angle.
Okay.
But it's got the grating in it like you would use on the top of a smokestack.
Yep. What color?
Light gray. Would that be in the brick pile? Have you been watching pornography-based game shows?
So I kid you not. So I went to.
This starts a story.
Yes. So, Ryan's like, whoa, wait a minute.
Oh no. He's gone full Stalinist. Everybody needs a Libby.
The problem in the Bering Strait corporate office is that both Rick and I both think we're each other's Libby.
Oh.
And so it's like, so one day he's like, why are you tasking me with this? And then the other day is, why are you tasking me with this?
It's gonna be so hard to put a keel on since
Well,
it's
because
even.
there's no actual keel either.
And the ship is pretty flat down the center. It just is an extension that comes out, I don't know, a couple of studs here. But since... I don't know why yours is so much bigger than mine.
Well, it's not really big. Yours is, I mean, like I said, I just got a lot of girth. You know, you got the length.
I mean, mine looks impressive, I guess, but it doesn't make me happy. Seriously though, this camera doesn't record sound, does it?
You're gonna be so sick of me by the end of this week.
By the end of the week. Alright, the pieces should be here Thursday.
Okay.
You're worse than I am, Ryan. You yell at me when I do that.
This is different.
This is different. This is Lego.
This is not for work. Is this a legal building technique?
Step 1418. Observe your creation. It's literally a numbered step is just that on the page. Next page. Okay.
Ooh.
Oh, what? Sorry.
We go to put these together at the end, and yours is like 4 bricks shorter than mine.
Oh, God.
Oh no!
Oh well. Damn contractors. The bills on these 5-inch guns, while good, definitely not a play feature. These things are spring-loaded death traps.
My dad built me a wooden Iowa-class battleship when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, but when he gave it to me, it was too big for me to pick up. It was probably like 3.5 feet long.
Okay.
And it was about this wide. It was kind of a little bit cartoony in shape. But just seeing the girth of this thing on the table reminds me a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought pieces were supposed to become more findable now.
Nope. That was all a lie. I lied to you in order to keep your spirits high. Did you find them? I done told you they were right there.
Dash, coming.
Look at that.
Alright, that is one completed haul.
Okay.
Alright, help line me up.
Yeah, right there. In that realm. Forward, one more stud. Okay, that's kind of where that needs to be. But over. Okay, yep, right there. Okay, attach there. Okay. Stern seems to be together pretty well.
And so it's together.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna do the gun turrets.
Yeah. I need to get a.
I'll probably move the counter.
Okay, good. Yeah, here. Make sure those are pushed down into their bases all the way.
There's just barely enough clearance for these things to turn.
Mm-hmm.
One eternity later.
Well, Ryan, this has been a fun couple of days.
How many hours do you think we put into this?
Let's see here. 3, 10, 12, 25 plus 2. I mean, so maybe 28 times 2. So just under 60 man hours over course of the last 4 days and over various times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that feels about right.
Yeah. This is, we knew when we started this project a couple years ago now.
Oh yeah, you didn't count those hours.
Yeah, that's a good point. It took us 2 days alone to organize and separate the pieces. And this happened in 2022. It just goes to show you how delayed this build was, and something that we had been planning for a long time.
Something like 8,500 pieces. And what we had bought, we had extras of some, and we didn't have all of them that were supposed to be there just because of how that stupid website worked.
But yeah, you do, when you purchase the instructions, you're just getting the digital files. Then you do have to go out and get pieces yourselves. And then, so when I first purchased the instructions, right, I had already had about 25% of the parts for this kit in my inventory already. And I was like, okay, well, that's a good starting point, 25%. You know, we can then start collecting from there. And then you were like, oh, I just bought everything already. That's one way of doing it. Save some time. And
because in theory, you're supposed to be able to, they give you a file and you're supposed to be able to load this file on that stupid website, and it gives you all the pieces and you just click buy. And that is not how it worked at all.
Yeah. But I think it turned out okay.
We got a couple of man hours for buying the pieces.
Yeah. We attempted this build, and like I said, in 2022, and we were missing some stuff. So that's what delayed it until now. And then, but even back then, wasn't sure like how to film this or do anything like that. So now I think it was good that this was delayed a little bit.
Well, I certainly needed the break.
Yeah, we needed time to recover from separating 8,000 pieces into 100 or so, 200 plastic bags.
Yeah.
So Ryan, let's go over some of the features of this model. So obviously 1/200 scale, the model, which makes it a lot larger than like the Kobe 1/300, 1/350 models that are even behind us on the shelf. So Ryan, why don't you want to point out some of the things that you do like, and maybe some of the things that when we were building this and posting the pictures on Facebook and things like that, a lot of people were commenting about how accurate is the model, and we were joking, but no, you definitely do have some things to point out. There will be some inaccuracies because this is made out of Lego pieces, and Lego just simply doesn't make parts that accommodate like this particular class of ship. So like the Lego 3-bladed propellers, that's a standard piece. Like there's nothing you're really going to do about that.
There isn't a 4- or 5-bladed propeller.
Right. So while that's an inaccuracy to New Jersey in real life, that's not something that the particular kit or designer could help. That's a piece that is off the shelf. It is what it is.
Yeah, and I don't even think if we're like, that ruins the immersion, I got to build it. I don't think I can brick build a facsimile of a proper propeller with 4 or 5 blades in this scale. It just is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. And even if they didn't Lego does have like 4-blade propellers, but they're not like ship propellers, you know. So like you
crosses for airplanes.
Yeah, exactly. So some things you do kind of have to, work around.
One Iowa class battleship had 3-bladed propellers for like a week. Iowa, when she was first built, so this kit you can build as either Missouri around 1945 or Iowa around 1943 as built. And she trialed 3-bladed propellers for, like I said, a week, maybe 2 weeks before they settled on the 4- and 5-bladed props, just to see what the difference in performance was between them. So if you were doing Iowa like day one as built, you can make it more accurate. And
that day one Iowa as built, like the conning tower isn't boxed in. It's very original, sort of right out of the factory, and so that they do give you, when you buy the instructions, you do get both. You get the plans to build and the plans and the part list to build sort of right out of the dockyard Iowa, and then you get this 1945 Missouri model. And realistically, the 1945 Missouri is relatively accurate to the entire class. So from there, you can do very slight modifications to make it any of them. Because in theory, the as launched Iowa kit, you could say that could be close to New Jersey as well.
Yeah, a very small number of
but-
modifications for as launched New Jersey.
Right. But really, this is what people, I think of as the end of the war sort of model where they all have these similar features and look the same.
And that's what I wanted to depict in the model. New Jersey in June of 1945, after she gets out of the Puget Sound Navy Yard, when she has her ultimate wartime configuration, she'll wear that through the end of the war. And essentially, she gets mothballed in that configuration. And one of the reasons why I chose that is because it is the ultimate configuration. The other reason is that there's really great set of high-resolution pictures of her in the Puget Sound Navy Yard after she's received these alterations that shows you everything, the electronics suite and the anti-aircraft suite. And it allows you to really model that one moment in time very, very accurately.
Yeah. So, Ryan, what are some of the things that, for instance, you would change? Like, as we were going through this, you kept saying, like, okay, well, okay, this is a little bit different. This is a little bit different. Would you mind just pointing out some of those differences that maybe you saw?
So this is going to seem like we're criticizing the original builder for doing things wrong, and that's absolutely not my intent here. I could not design this on my own.
No, this is an incredible kit, and just the level of detail and the way some of these parts just fit together to create these angles and especially in the superstructure. Obviously, the hull has, especially the stern, the bow, but that superstructure is incredible. So yeah, absolutely no. We're not criticizing this kit in any way. It's just there's some things that you have limitations for being Lego, and but it is not exactly perfect as maybe you could achieve with like a traditional model kit.
Yeah.
So sorry, Ryan, go ahead.
But if you were to buy this yourself and you wanted to build it in a similar configuration to what I've got, I'll point out a couple of things that you could add or modify that will make it more accurate. So what do we want to do? Tip to butt?
Yeah, let's go bow to stern here.
Okay, so first off, you're missing your paravane chain. That would be an additional chain, looks like the anchor chains would connect down here, would come up and over to roughly around here, and that's where you would attach your minesweeping assembly. That's not always installed, so it's not something necessary, but it would be a cool feature to add, and I'm going to at least look into if it's possible to add it. The way the bow section's sandwiched together like that, there might be enough room to get a one-tab chain piece in there, but we'll see.
All right, so we're working back here. What else?
So the kit does come with 20 millimeter guns. They're the Lego hand piece flipped upside down and clipped to a tab or inserted into a hollow, like right here. And we chose not to put those in because we're going to take the 20 millimeter pieces from Kobe kits, which are pretty appropriate in this scale. They're also one tab wide. So we are going to add a couple of Kobe pieces onto this, and for that reason, we did not add any of the 20 millimeter guns. However, I'll point out there's a couple places where there are clearly supposed to be 20 millimeter guns, and there's a couple that the instructions don't tell you about. So by this point in the war, the Iowa-class battleships have 49 mounts for 20 millimeter guns, or 52 for Iowa herself. She's missing her turret 2 40 millimeter mount, and instead has 3 20 millimeter mounts there. So that's the major difference between Iowa and her 3 sister ships during this time period. The kit does not include all 49 mounts for 20 millimeter guns. Also worth pointing out, 8 of those mounts should be twin 20 millimeters, not the singles that they start the war with.
Kobe has the twin 20, right? They have and I don't know of a Lego piece that the single hand, I think, is a easy way of accomplishing sort of something that looks that size with something, a barrel that's sticking out. So I think as far as the base kit goes, I think that is a perfect use of that. But if you have access or can buy the little Kobe molded, which is roughly the same size, why not?
It just looks better, and it's designed to stud onto a Lego part.
Right.
So the 20mm guns in the pulpit are missing. It's got the upside down piece there. That is a real easy modification. It's going to be one of the first things I change. Just add the two 20mm in the pulpit. I'm also going to add the jack staff in the pulpit. Kobe makes a great United States Navy jack piece that I'm going to clip on there. This has a brick-built American flag that it comes with to fly from the mainmast as if the ship is underway. Since I'm depicting the ship in June of 45 based on that photo series, she was in port. So she'd be flying the jack at the bow and the American flag at the stern here. And this kit comes with the flag staff at the stern, which would most likely be folded down when the ship was at sea and flying the flag from here. So I'm going to add a jack, and I'm going to add the 20mm guns in the pulpit there.
Okay.
Coming aft, you can see they did add the other set of 20mm guns at the bow. We just haven't included them, but the tubs are right there. The next thing, the cover page of the instructions shows the 40mm guns on the Missouri kit. Iowa does not come with the 20mm she's supposed to have, and of course she doesn't come with the 40mm she isn't supposed to have. It's a turret like this. The actual instructions for the Missouri kit, however, still have you building Iowa's turret 2 instead of a duplicate of turret number 3.
So there's a 40. So basically, this kit is missing one of the 40s.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it means also that the instructions don't have you get enough pieces to add another 40 on there.
Yeah, it's not a difference of, it's just, it's excluded for one reason or another. So that is an instance where, it would be an easy thing to duplicate turret 3 on turret 2 here. And assuming you could make that change and order the correct amount of pieces. But yeah, as per the instructions, this is how the model is depicted. So that is one of the areas that, where it is inaccurate.
But because the cover sheet of the instructions showed the 40mm there, I didn't think to order an extra one.
Yeah.
So I have since ordered that. It'll be here in a couple of days, but it's going to take some time for me to correct this and modify turret 2 to be like turret 3 instead of turret 1.
Right. Yeah. Moving further back here, what about the? I think the bridge is modeled very well.
Oh yeah, I'm super impressed with both the open bridge that Iowa gets and the enclosed bridge here.
Yeah, this looks fantastic. Those angles and the way that that perfect those lines and everything. I think, and I was the one who put that bridge together, and the building techniques are just absolutely incredible. It was amazing the way all these separate sections just came together and clipped all together at the very end to create that enclosed bridge that these ships are known for.
Yeah, it's very iconic, but it's got some very complex angles.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do that. I don't know how to do that.
No. But not only achieve the angle, but to do it seamlessly. There's so few gaps anywhere. I mean, in the hull, in the superstructure, like all these different angles, there's so few gaps. And, it's not as easy as just using an angled piece. You have to in order to achieve these kind of angles and not have gaps, the building techniques, like I said, are just absolutely incredible. So full props to the designer on that. That is an impressive amount of skill to achieve. So
yeah, and again, we're pointing out the things that are wrong or missing from the kit. It sounds like we're criticizing it, but there are so many things right with this. This video would be 10 hours long if we talked about everything that was done accurate. Like look at the hull. There's deck drains coming out of the hull. Like that's wild. That's incredible. It's great modeling.
I particularly liked the build for the 5-inch 38s for the secondaries. I thought that building technique and the way you use a Lego wrench piece.
I'd never even seen that piece before.
Yeah, well, that's a relatively new part because it's probably 15 years old. But it's different than the wrench piece that we grew up with in the 90s.
Yeah.
So I think that's why. But that was a very interesting or a very interesting piece and very interesting building techniques. And I think those 5-inch 38 guns that are on this kit in general, I think actually look really, really great. I think it really captures the overall shape. Versus I've seen some brick built 5-inch 38 little mounts, and some,
It's kind of just square.
It's hit or miss, yeah, for sure.
And then Kobe doesn't even try. They just printed a specific 5-inch 38 piece, which at that one smaller scale,
I think is fine.
Yeah, I don't know how they would brick build something.
Yeah, at this larger scale, it's you have to brick build it. It's you wouldn't want to otherwise. Anything else in the superstructure? You mentioned the searchlights being a little on the generic side.
Well, I don't hate the design of the searchlights.
Mm-hmm.
This kit only has 3 of them. It's supposed to have 5.
Okay.
But I looked at the Iowa model. The Iowa model has the right amount. The extra ones are supposed to go right here, where because the main mast is different, it took over the stud that was supposed to have those.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
But that'll be a relatively easy... I can add that back in relatively easily. I think I've got those spare parts in my bins outside. The biggest issue for me is the 011 level of the superstructure here. That's the biggest issue for me in the whole superstructure. On Iowa or New Jersey as built, you would have this kind of squared off superstructure. But by the time they get into this configuration, they've added extra space up there, essentially. That is the air defense warfare platform, where they're spotting incoming aircraft to designate which ones they want the fire control directors, like this guy right here, to aim at. So on Iowa and New Jersey, there should be pieces built off here in the center to kind of form a cross shape up there. On Missouri and Wisconsin, they're built with more of a T shape with that cross coming off of the front. So that's another real easy mod. I add some dark gray bricks on there. I take out these 4x1s and replace them with some 1x1s and some 2x1s.
Yeah, that should be relatively easy. The tripod mast in the back?
That's another impressive one. A difference between early war Iowas and late war Iowas. They have just a single pole mast coming off, which is modeled in the Iowa version of this kit, or the tripod version when they add the extra radar up here. And, that comes out pretty spectacular. It's not the sort of thing that you think you can build out of Lego.
It's very intricate, and ultimately it is very delicate. And it is a lot of positioning beams. But I think that as far as the static, when you're just looking at it, I think it pulls it off really well. That is one of the instances where you have to cut
one of many instances where
you have to cut some tubing, which there are Lego sets that have you cut that tube, so that's not an illegal thing. It's a little harder than just putting a piece together and moving on to the next step. You do have to measure and cut, and the tube can easily be bent and everything. So you do have to be careful, but it is something that is completely achievable. So also, I guess, since we're talking about that, all the 40 millimeter guns, that's a relatively basic build.
Yeah.
I was sitting here thinking of it would take me a while to try to come up with a better solution than with what the designer did come up with. But the 40 millimeter barrels, you are cutting that same black tubing.
You just pull out your tape measure, and I use some of those model clipper pieces. You could use regular scissors. It's relatively soft plastic. You could use an X-Acto knife. So it was easy to do.
And then, of course, moving closer to the stern, we have another section for 20 millimeter. So after turret 3, we've got more 20 millimeters that aren't there.
Yeah, and this tub right here. It's the wrong number measured out here. That's an easy fix.
Yeah.
They're missing the 20 millimeters around. There should be one here for New Jersey and Iowa, not for Missouri and Wisconsin. There should be 2 down here. There just isn't a place for. There should be 2 here. There's only 1 stud. There should be 5 down here. Interestingly, Iowa has that modeled. For whatever reason, the Missouri kit does not have that modeled. But you can go, when you buy it, you get both the Iowa and the Missouri instructions. You can go back and build that. We just haven't had the time to do that yet. So add that back in. I don't know how that ended up getting dropped from the Missouri instructions, because all 4 Iowas had that for the entire war.
And then, so moving even further towards the stern, obviously the 2 catapults still, in 1945, they would still be there. We haven't removed them yet. I think you and me are both in agreement that the stern the stern build is definitely probably one of the best parts of this entire model, and that's saying something considering how fabulous the rest is. But it was just something about the way that shape, the perfect Iowa stern shape, is nailed, and then also the way that it curves, up.
Yeah, it's elliptical in this direction and curving up from the bottom, and then it's got the 40mm gun tubs coming out of it at multiple other complex curves.
Yeah, it would be so easy to just use a bunch of standard bricks and just say like, this is the best that I can do. And there are some models, even some behind us, that do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the scale of this, again, the 1/200 scale, it means you really have to go the extra mile to show that detail. And I really do think the designer did. And it was an actual, you built the upper hull section of the stern. I, of course, built the under hull section. And I think, that was just a real pleasure. And nothing was too overly complicated. Again, it was never like, oh, wow, this is just a nightmare build that really, that's so fragile that if you blew on it, it just would break. This is actually pretty sturdy.
Yeah, I wouldn't pick it up from the bow on the stern. I would pick it up from but it's not going to come off.
Yeah.
Oh, no!
Except for the airplanes.
They're not actually attached by anything. They're just smooth on
the little float plane build, which are kind of fun,
It's very convincing. It's the right scale.
Yeah, so I think that works pretty well. Let's talk about sort of the elephant in the room here. Let's talk about the price tag of this build, because this is going to be the one con that I think keeps people out of building this. When this went live on BrickVault's website 2-3 years ago, they estimated somewhere like $1,100 to $1,300.
Yeah.
I priced it again the other day just so that I would know, and that price has gone $1,300, $1,400, $1,500 just because of everything has gotten more expensive in the last couple of years. Lego doesn't decrease in value; it increases in value seemingly every year. So it is one of those things you can say,
especially a set like this that uses a lot of relatively uncommon pieces and some pieces that are just not in production anymore.
Most of the parts are pretty normal, I would say.
Yeah.
And even the red for the hull that red is a new color, so that's not anything that's out of production.
And you probably have some of just about every piece in this. And if you're like us that build a lot of things in gray, you'll have a lot of what you need.
Mm-hmm.
But you will not have the 400 of this and the 200 of that in your collection.
The two stand pieces, the 4 Lego quarter domes in pearl gold that make that up, those are expensive. Those are very expensive.
They only came out in one kit, 2 kits?
A couple, and so these are things that you could make your own base out of generic bricks, so you didn't have to go that route. So there are ways of cost cutting.
It's definitely worth building if you think that this is outside of your experience or outside of your ability. There are other kits like this. We've got a half a dozen Iowa kits behind me from various manufacturers. Kobe makes a solid one. This is their old one. They've got a newer one where you can build it as any of the 4 Iowas.
Yeah.
That is a great kit. A couple other non-Lego companies up there that make them.
I guess I should mention too, a lot of people found the knockoff version of this kit, the one sold by the Black Zone. So they would have acquired the plans and then essentially pirated it, and using sort of knockoff Chinese bricks will sell you the instructions and all the bricks. The only thing is that when you buy that kit, I think that's still pretty expensive though. Is it $5 or $6, or how many hundreds of dollars is that still?
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
It's definitely not it's not as cheap as the Kobe, the 1/350. So it's definitely still pretty expensive. But I know it's at least half as expensive as doing it here. But again, you're not supporting the original designer.
Look at all this. That guy deserves some support for putting this together. And he designed a modern Iowa in this scale, but hasn't released the instructions yet. So maybe if we sell enough of these,
Yeah.
And there seemed to be an interest in Iowa-class battleships. We'll go back and...
we can get the 1980s New Jersey, and we can have them sit side by side here. We do that comparison. But yeah, so I mean, it is... Technically, you could build this model cheaper. But I can't speak to the quality of sort of like the knockoff Chinese bricks. I've had some sets which are fine, and I've had others which are complete disasters.
The bulk of them, and you can see a couple up here that I've bought, the tolerances aren't great. So especially as you're layering plates along the side of the ship, they're a little bit thicker than they should be for Legos. And so they start to bulge out. They don't actually fit together right.
Yeah. Whereas at least using genuine Lego pieces for this entire build, everything is exactly how it's supposed to be. Nothing is overstressed. Nothing's going to break. Nothing's falling off except for maybe the float plane.
It's a lighter plastic. Like I've broken some of the pieces trying to get them together because it's such a cheap plastic, and the colors don't perfectly match Lego. So you then have something, you try to use kit pieces from your...
you could end up with like a really light red hull that looks kind of weird versus...
And then you want to modify it with some of the stuff that we've talked about here, and you go to your Lego piece and put it on there, and now you've got this weird patchwork of colors.
Yeah. So moral of the story is, go to BrickVault, buy the appropriate instructions, give the credit to the designer.
Support the designer.
And then hopefully, go and get some bulk lots on Facebook Marketplace and start collecting the pieces, because, it is definitely an expensive thing just to click buy now on BrickLink. I definitely do not recommend doing that unless you have more money and, than time.
Yeah, having done that, I would not go back and do it again.
No. Well, Ryan, this has been an absolutely a fabulous experience and a fun 4 days of building. I'm going to give my fingers a rest for a while before I attempt anything else.
I've got calluses now.
I am super curious to get a Lego Titanic now, because having built a ship roughly the same size, in the exact same scale, I would really want to see what an official Lego brand 1/200 ship builds, like how they went about doing some of the same things that this designer saw. I want to see that contrast, and when we do that, we'll certainly we can film that experience as well. But I do appreciate this, Ryan. This has been a lot of fun.
Thanks for your help. I would have never gotten enough time off to do this whole thing.
All right. We'll see you in the next episode. We have a Belfast to build, so there could be something there. Again, a Titanic. Maybe there's a UK theme for the next couple episodes. We'll see. Or maybe before then I can find something else that's a naval brick related, and we can film that for the channel.
And at some point in the future, you have to come back and see the mods that I've made to the show.
Oh yeah, we'll do a follow up and see what and follow back up with Ryan here and see what he's done. Well, anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, obviously leave them down below. We tend to get to them all. And again, if you have anything that you might want to see in the future, if you have any kits that you know of, send us a message. You can follow us on Facebook and send a message on there as well. And we do appreciate everyone tuning in for this episode. Thank you very much, Ryan.
See you guys next time.